What's up, beautiful humans? Thank you so much for spending another Sunday night with me and my good friend and co-host, Pamela Topjian. Here you are. We are the Transgender Mentor podcast and YouTube channel. So I thank you in advance for going ahead and hitting all those awesome buttons in the bottom, the like button, share this out with your friends and groups, and also subscribe to our channel, turn on your notification bell so that you know when we put up new videos, which right now is once a week. We got a lot of stuff planned for this show, and it's just been an amazing gift to be able to bring some of the experience and knowledge to humanity through this whole project. I mean, what we learn through life and what we definitely learn through our mistakes is the greatest resource that we have to help humanity. And often we think it's not important enough to put out there, or we think nobody really cares, when in fact, many people are struggling through some of the same things that you're either going through or have been through. So that's tonight. We're going to talk about the holidays and what it's like for a lot of LGBTQ human beings. We're going to talk about the trans experience inside of a family that maybe doesn't understand. We're going to talk about some amazing ways that you, as a parent, family member, or friend, can be a great ally to someone in this situation during holiday family get-togethers. We have so many hurting people during the holidays because, society shows us that holidays are supposed to be spent with loved ones and families. And for many LGBTQ plus youth, that's not the case. Many of them will be spending these holiday seasons alone. Many will be contemplating suicide. Many will wonder what's wrong with them. And many will fall deeper into depression and addiction. And I know that for myself and Pamela Topjian, we want to do our part in trying to make that different. So, it doesn't matter what your gender identity is. You don't have to be trans or LGBTQ plus to be here. We welcome all human beings because we only grow as humans, and we only better humanity when we come together and do our best to understand one another. So, if you all are ready to get into this Sunday night soul session with me and my good friend and co-host Pamela Topjian here on the Transgender Mentor YouTube channel and podcast, I'm ready, so let's go. Hey, Pamela, what's up?
Hi, hi.
It's good to see you this week, as
You too.
always.
Yes,
You've got
yes,
some
me too.
amazing, exciting things going on in your life. I'm so excited for your book to come out on
Thank
January the
you.
15th.
Thank you.
Pre-order available now for Kindle. Um, I'm just grateful to be a part of this dream coming true for you, and can't
It
wait to
just keeps
see.
happening. It just keeps happening.
I love it when
It's
you
just,
when
yeah,
you're right, when you're aligned with your destiny. Your
yeah.
destiny basically finds you, and
It's
I love
awesome.
that. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
Thank
I
you.
love that. I'm so happy for you and proud of you.
Thank you.
I am also very excited to talk about this week's topics. And
Yeah.
you made an amazing Instagram post and you brought up some
Mm,
really good questions. But just in general, throughout history, the holiday season has been a really hard time for LGBTQ plus youth and
yeah.
adults as well, you
Yeah.
know? And you represent the allies
Mm-hmm.
of the world. I can only represent the trans people of the world. And I can remember times in when I was dating, and this was just when I was identifying as lesbian.
Yeah.
I was dating someone, a very serious relationship, and I would have to stay in a hotel room as we would go to where her family lived so that she could
Hmm.
go and have Christmas with her family, and I
Mm.
was always hidden away in the hotel
Oh
room.
my
So
gosh. Yeah.
I really, really identify and get the loneliness that
Ugh.
people feel. And it's hard.
Especially in that kind of situation because you're not like in your own space. Like if you're
Yeah,
tucked away somewhere, you're like just waiting, like I can't participate, but what am I going to do here?
right.
There's a lot you can do if you're at home or in your own space, to
Very
not be
true.
so lonely and not feel
Yeah,
so isolated. But
very true.
but in that kind of situation, wow, that's tough.
Yeah. Well, it just reiterates that there's something wrong with you. There's as
Yeah.
much as we can logistically think, okay, it's not really my problem, it's the family's problem, or the fear of this person to tell them about their life. Regardless of how we say all that outwardly, there's still
Mhm.
that little voice inside that says you're not good enough to
Be
for her to
seen.
stand up for who she is and to be
Yeah,
seen and those things. So I really feel in this during these holiday seasons, I feel for a lot of our youth. I know that
mhm,
that homelessness, throughout history has actually grown in numbers during
yeah,
these times of year. And so many of those newly homeless human beings are of the, lesbian, gay. I don't know much about the bisexual, but I know that the lesbian,
mhm,
gay, and especially the trans community youth, a
yeah,
lot, just become homeless during this time of year. And so I think
right.
it's very important to talk about
It
some
is.
things that we can do, what we can do as those human beings, and from your perspective as an ally,
Mhm,
how an ally can help, or how to
mhm.
equip even parents to
Yeah,
be that ally.
it's a tough one for sure. It's a tough
Mm.
one, I tell you, because there's so many different scenarios, but also part of me wants to say, as a parent, part of me wants to say, I can see where a parent would say, there's a time and a place for everything. Don't make waves, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Grandpa, uncle, grandma, whatever, won't understand. Just don't talk about it or whatever.
Yeah.
I can understand that in a way because it's the holidays and you just kind of want to not make waves,
Right. Right.
But on the other hand, I can also see where why should I hide myself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why should I be ashamed? And no, you don't have to make a big statement and stand up at the table and say pay attention or cause a big sort of a scene. You don't have to do that either. But, I would say things that are like subtle ways, like just wear a pin that says, your pronouns, or even a
Mhm.
pride flag or a trans flag, or anything, a t-shirt, a hat, whatever, just some accessory. And then if somebody asks or points it out, then you can say, I'm glad you asked. Thank you for noticing,
Yeah.
and then also come with resources available so you don't sound like you're just no matter how old you are, whether you're a kid, a teen, or you're the adult in this situation, you don't want to come off as being defensive. You want to come off as, look at, if you love me and out of your love and respect for me, would you mind taking a look at this information sometime, and whether it be this podcast or, the documentaries, you know,
Mhm.
um, or just some websites, Trevor Project,
Yes. Yes.
stuff like that. So, you could just bring it up in that way and say, you know, I know that it's change is hard. I know that it's hard to understand, but for me, it's not saying you have to embrace the whole LGBTQ community to these people that's your family that maybe don't understand or don't accept you. But I think, you can do it in a way that you say, just sort of baby steps. For me, if you love me and want to understand what's going on with me, please, when you have a chance, take a look at these. I'll send you some resources. And just leave it at that. You don't have to make a big scene. It doesn't have to be a fight. And if people try to pick a fight, we've said it before, you don't have to attend every argument that you're invited to. They're the
Very
ones
true.
trying to make a scene. You don't have to be involved in that. So,
Well, and understanding human behavior, that's one of the things that I think that unfortunately we don't talk to children enough about, because I think
mm,
a lot of times we fail to even realize how observant children
hmm
really are. They are quite the scholar on human behavior. They just don't quite know how to label what it is they're looking at. And
yeah,
you're going to know in your family pretty much, within a wide spectrum of who's
yeah,
going to be accepting, or at
hmm
least, you know, loves you enough to respect you even past
right,
their own not being able to understand,
right,
and who is just absolutely going to be the starter, the
hmm
lighter fluid on the fire.
right.
And I
You probably know your family well enough,
right,
yeah, to
you
know those
probably
characters.
do.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing that I would say for, parents and family members, because one of the questions you ask is, what would you say or do if your teen came out to you just before a holiday family get together? And
Mm-hmm.
I think what's brilliant about what you originally said was that that is the temptation of, you're receiving this kind of news that's probably kind of knocking you off of
Right.
your safe space as well. Who's to say it's not right before walking out of the door or
hmm
the day before?
Right.
um but I think that that's the moment that we have to be very willing to look at our initial reactions,
Yeah.
and our wanting to keep things safe, and
hmm
then also looking at what are those actions going to, because I've got a one small window of opportunity to either create a shame space or
hmm
create a loving, safe space with my child, teenager,
Right.
family member. So I think in that moment is that moment where we can kind of take a breath and stand back and think, okay, I'm feeling this reaction. What is that going to produce in someone else?
Yeah.
And I think that that's where an open line of communication is so amazing to create, because in that moment, it's okay for you to say, I don't understand
hmm
and I don't have an answer to what we're going to do, but I'm open and willing to talk about it. Like,
Right.
this is how I can imagine that, your uncle, so and so is
hmm
kind of going to be this way. It's almost like that team meeting before we go into the actual, action.
Right.
But if we in that moment go with our original, feeling, and our nervous system, which says, okay, let's don't say nothing. We'll get through this
hmm
holiday, then we'll figure it out. I think
Yeah.
what that ends up bringing over to that child is, again, that thing that we take on as something's wrong with me.
Right.
I think that is the moment for that parent, even before you even have that conversation,
Yeah.
to get your resources. Like the Trevor Project has an
Yeah.
amazing
Yes.
downloadable
hmm
PDF, how to be a good ally,
Yeah.
whole amazing little program.
Yeah.
Read that. It
Yeah.
takes little to no, time to really do
Right.
that. Discuss that, because for parents, you are going to be your child's greatest line of defense
Right.
in how not only they're going to move through this family gathering, but how they're
hmm
going to move through life. It's
Right.
these
That's really a
incidences
door.
that
It's a
build.
door or it's a
Yes, it
hill.
is.
It's you're at the start of something new. Now your child
Absolutely.
has told you this, and you have to, like you said, you have to take that moment as a parent. Parenting is so hard, you know. We're not
Yes.
saying it's an easy thing to do,
No.
but but you do have to take that moment as the parent as to give a little thought, a little pause as to how is my reaction going to affect the rest of our relationship around this whole
Yeah,
subject, which is really their
absolutely.
life, you know.
Yeah, because it
So,
is somebody's life. What seems
mhm.
like a trend, to parents because,
Mhm.
we all have often, have this tendency to hear something that is completely life-changing for not only that person in the
Mhm.
family, and we would like to make it smaller than it is and say, "Well, this is
Mhm.
just a trend. If I don't visit it, they'll just grow out of it or get over it." But, lots of times that's not the case.
Right.
You
And
know,
it's not up
and
to
mo
you to make that judgment call either,
it's
whether it is or
absolutely
not.
not.
It's up,
It's
you just have
absolutely
to
not.
respect what your child is telling you at face value in that moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and it doesn't really mean to run down to the doctor and let's go explore all these. We're
Right.
talking about holiday seasons. We're talking
Mhm.
about how to, be human to human
Yeah.
in the best possible way. Because whether these are your children, I will not forget. We had someone on last week that actually used words that I thought were very common for the
Mhm.
parent-child relationship when they asked, "Well, would you allow them to be transgender?" And there is no allowing
Right.
someone to be who they
Right.
are. And the moment that you begin to take a power stance
Mhm.
against someone, I ask you to go back into your own history and remember the things that your parents took a power stance on
Mhm.
and how wild you went with those very same taboo things when it was your time to be out there.
Yeah.
We have to get over that dictatorship of parent and child relationship. Like, I believe
Yeah,
it
there's
that children are gifts. They are
absolutely.
a gift to us. They're a new human being in the world, and it's like our creator has given us this gift to nurture and love and to send out into the world as who they're created to be,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, that's how I feel about that. So I think that, you know, a parent going into this situation, you you've got a lot of some extra responsibility on your plate when dealing with an LGBTQ plus youth at a holiday
Yeah.
family get together.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk for a moment to that trans youth
Mhm.
or LGBTQ plus youth. This is a time where you yourself have got to really begin to understand who you are and what it means to you because you're now in a situation where as human nature we're going to ask other people to validate for us that we are accepted,
Mhm.
acceptable, and lovable. And because that's our culture to do, a lot of times that doesn't come back to us and we're left feeling empty and unlovable. And I encourage you to really do some self-love with you, some type of process where you know that you are valid
Mhm.
regardless of what other people say, agree with, or
Right.
don't agree with, you
And there's
know?
those hotlines, not just Trevor Project, but there's all kinds of even text lines. If you're really having a rough time and you're at the family gathering, you
Yes.
know, and also make sure that you're safe. We always
Yes.
stress that that's so important. We want you to, feel comfortable in your own self, but we also don't want you to put yourself in an unsafe
Absolutely.
situation because that can be, even family can be unsafe for you. So,
Yes.
you have to make that judgment call and And I think that it's perfectly fine for a teen to refuse to go or to leave a place if they don't feel
Mhm.
comfortable and safe. Um, Not to storm out. Again, you don't have to make a scene, but if other families are making a scene about you, I think it's perfectly fine, and it shows a lot of self-respect and a lot of self-love to stand up and say, I'm not going to be a part of this, and let them
Absolutely.
go on with whatever they're doing. I mean, the holidays come around every year. We don't have to make it seem like it's such a huge deal. I mean, it seems like it, I know, every year, especially when you're younger, but as we get older, oh, it's Christmas again. It's Christmas again. It's
Right.
Christmas
Right.
again. It's
There
like
will
it
come
just
a time,
just
yeah.
comes again. Not a big deal. Um, but yeah, so I think that it's you can go sit in the car. You can go in another room. You can text these text lines even
Yeah.
while you're in the bathroom if it gets
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
Keep them in your pocket if you think it might be a rough time, regardless of if you're out or not, or even if you have been. If you're unsure who's going to be there and how they're going to respond to you, put some of those numbers in your pocket.
Yeah, and I think that for the allies in this situation, whether it's parents or aunt and uncle, sisters or brothers, I think that's an important conversation to have with that person before
Hmm.
you go out to these,
Yeah.
these family gatherings because it's not necessarily our place to out someone else if they're not
No.
comfortable and ready because it can put them in danger. I do
Right.
sensitivity training for organizations at time and that's my biggest, you know,
Mm.
point to them
I've
is
seen
that
that too on social media. I've seen that where people say,
yes.
that somebody, outed them before they were ready. Yeah.
And you never
No.
know, like even just in a line when you are checking into a doctor's office and you are,
Right.
that person that's, behind that glass, you don't know what the person behind this other human being is thinking about. And so you've
Right.
got to take a person's safety
Hmm.
seriously because
Right.
we don't always know what's in the minds. People's belief systems cause them to do many
Hmm.
outrageous and dangerous things to other human beings. We've seen it throughout history. It's still a big issue in especially our country, but the world. Trans violence
Hmm.
is at an all-time high
Yeah.
and we are still fighting for our rights to be seen and to have our crimes prosecuted as
Yeah.
hate crimes.
Yeah.
So, you got to really take things seriously in when we're talking about safety. And I'm always an advocate of having an exit plan, just like
Hmm.
Pamela's talking about. Gather your resources before you go. And if you have no other choice and are being forced to go to these things or not given any kind of, respect or choice,
Yeah.
take care of yourself. Have
Hmm.
some of these numbers.
Right.
Google these numbers before you go, but make sure
Right.
that you're taking care of you. And
You can even
regardless of
have them in your phone, saved in your
yes,
phone, and even, just have them
yeah,
in there.
give them
I'm
some
old
strange
fashioned.
name.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm old fashioned. Put it on a piece of paper in your pocket. Teens are
But
laughing at
if
me, I'm sure.
but and give them different names, if it's something that you
Yeah.
are really, really, really undercover about and you just cannot, be out and open with who you
Yeah.
are, then give them some name in your phone that
Yeah.
looks like a friend's name that you
Trevor
know.
Project can just be Trevor,
Trevor,
and the
exactly,
crisis text line can be like Chrissy, something like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
These are my friends
Yeah.
and therefore be able to discuss that. If you
Hmm.
have a support group in your local area, look that up. And
Yes.
a lot of those are not going to be extremely public because of the
Right.
safety issue. But if you are actually going through, medical transition and you have a doctor, an HRT doctor, they will generally know those support
Yeah.
groups around your town or your city or the closest place. So get involved with them. Reach out online. I know
Yeah.
that, on TikTok, of course, we love Corey Schiller at Goose Caboose 2011. We love Corey. Corey's an amazing advocate and ally. We just love that
Educator.
guy. Very great
Yeah.
educator and just an amazing supporter of human
Mhm.
life. And there are many others. So I'm
Yes.
sure that, on even that app, there are so many creators. I
Mhm.
think that if you go to Corey's profile and you see the people that Corey follows,
Right.
you're likely to be in a safe space to
Yes.
check out those other people. Transgender mentor is on TikTok, but Corey is really an amazing educator and lover of
Yeah.
human life. And so, I think Corey's a great place to start. So that's at Goose Caboose 2011. In fact, I got it right here. We'll put it there. That's a great, it's just great to surround yourself, to remember to see
Yeah.
friendly faces.
True,
Remember to see
true.
friendly faces. Spend time outside, do what you got to do, but take care of you. Have an exit plan. If you got to
Yeah.
have an exit plan, have an exit plan. I'm from the
Yeah.
South. A lot of times I've been in situations where having an exit plan not only saved my life, it saved my
Mhm.
sanity. And I'm
Yes.
also in,
Yes.
in recovery, and we
I was
have
just gonna
I
say, yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
trigger plan. I plan these things out
Yeah.
before I go because I don't want to wait till I'm in the midst of the fight to be trying to figure out
Right.
how I'm going to take care of myself.
Exactly.
So do that stuff
Right.
before and get
Mhm.
with, you know, allies beforehand and parents.
Right.
Let's talk about, Pamela, some great ways to be a good ally, just because I think that that's important for this video, because some parents may just not
Yeah.
know.
Well, I
I
think
mean,
that, if somebody stumbled upon this podcast or is on any of our social media, they're already thinking that, or wanting to be a good ally,
yes,
or thinking that their child or their partner or their friend or somebody that they are thinking of in their mind that they want to learn more about without asking directly, or just to learn how to, how to be a good ally for that person, a good supporter. um, so I think that one thing, if you are one of those people, go ahead and look up the Trevor Project. Do some of your own research beforehand, before somebody comes out to you, or before there's anything that, if you're already thinking they're going to and they haven't yet, prepare yourself if you're thinking that that's something that might be coming. But it might also be good, even if there isn't anybody that you have in mind, but just to be prepared, just to educate yourself on
yeah,
equality, and just so that you are somebody that is a safe space for others, for anybody else, whether it's in the workplace or, like you said, even in the grocery store or the bank or something, just so that you can educate yourself on equality and, understanding, and just to be prepared for it. But I think that if somebody comes out to you, like if your child comes out to you, or even a friend, or anybody at any time, I think it's good to say, like we said, take a pause if you're having some knee jerk reaction, and ask them, did you want to talk about this when we get there, or did you want to just let me know, or
yeah,
do you, what do you, and I think the most important thing is to let that person know that you still feel the same way about them. I still love you as a
yes,
friend. I still love you
yeah,
as my child. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Um, I will be, of course, I'm worried for your safety because I know that there's issues, but I am here for you, whatever you need. I'll help you look up resources. I'll, you know, go through this with you, if that's what you want. I
mm-hmm,
think it's
mm-hmm,
important to respect, even if it's your child. I
yes,
think it's important to respect, what do they want when they tell you. Do they just want you to know, or are they telling you because they're preparing you, because they're going to, they
yeah,
plan on, you know whatever,
yeah, yeah.
coming
I
out
really
at the
wish,
party, or bringing a
absolutely,
date
because
that's.
I really, I really love. I go back to my friend Lee a lot, and the way that Lee raises, their daughter, who, stood up unbeknownst to Lee at Christmas and
Mhm.
declared, I don't remember if was, I'm not quite sure what expression that she
Mhm.
revealed, but, because Lee is such a confident parent
Mhm.
in being a trans human being, and is just really accepting, no one, in the family really made any moves
Yeah.
to actually disrespect this child, as they
Right.
knew that this child's parent was also not going to stand for that disrespect,
Yeah.
as they don't stand for disrespect in their own life. And so,
That's
you know,
huge.
that it really, really is.
Mhm.
And I'll never ever forget, Lee's stance on discrimination, and people
Mhm.
asking him, do you must experience a lot of discrimination? And Lee's comment was, absolutely not. I don't stand for it, so I don't see it. I
Yeah.
don't tolerate it, and therefore I don't see it.
Right.
And so, I just really will always, just look at Lee with such adoration, in just the
Yeah.
confidence that you're raising a child with, whether they are transgender or lesbian or gay or bisexual or
Mhm.
queer or non-binary. None of that matters. I think our end goal is to
Yeah.
raise self-aware, secure children and human beings, because that's honestly what's going to change the world and humanity as we
Yeah.
know it. When we continuously imprint on children our own belief systems, and refuse to see the openness that is beginning to
Yeah.
trying to happen in the world, then we're harming them in so
Yeah.
many ways. People think you're harming them if you don't give them what they're supposed to believe or be, and that's just completely the opposite. I
Yeah.
mean, we look at many suicide rates just, going up each year
Mhm.
over, this trans youth and lesbian,
Yeah.
gay, bisexual youth, because there's not enough acceptance. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying understanding, because you don't have to understand
Right.
something to respect and accept the human being that is before you.
Right. Just and acceptance doesn't mean you have to change, but what acceptance is just acceptance for equality, acceptance for respect, acceptance for another human being authentic to themselves.
Absolutely.
Accept that. Nobody's asking you to, automatically change your thinking if you've not been somebody that agrees with any part of the LGBTQ community, but at least open up a little bit to think of that as a person no matter what.
Yeah.
Respect their individuality,
Yeah.
regardless of any of that. Just respect and accept that they have the right to be themselves. That's
Absolutely.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I have part of a family, and I won't speak about what part it is, but there is a young person in this family that is identifying as transgender. And even though I'm a part of this family, this person is younger,
Mhm.
and they came out with this identity. They asked to be called by their name, and then you have these people in the family that, resist
Oh yeah.
this, calling of this name, and that's,
Hmm.
this person's always going to be this to me, and
Right.
all that. And again, I have to fight myself not to get angry, and
Hmm.
kind of back up and say, who the hell do you people think you are? I mean, you're why wouldn't you, why is it so hard for you to show
Yeah.
this other human being respect? And
Right.
what does it really, really hurt and harm you, whether this lasts, whether this is real for
Exactly.
them, whether it's not, either way, how much of your life is it harming for you to be
Right.
respectful of this other human being? And
Yeah.
part of me believes that's my job as an
Mhm.
older transgender person who's had life and gone
Mhm.
through a lot of things, has learned in a lot of ways to stand up for who I am and what I believe in, and as far
Right.
as what humanity is and what we represent. I sort of think that it's my job. So I say to allies, when you feel like it's your job, and you'll know when you're called to speak up about something,
Mhm.
then speak up. If it's a safe space to speak up, speak
Yeah.
up. It's kind of like, our race issue is not going to be fixed the more that, black, brown, or indigenous people stand up and speak about it. It's the
Right.
people on the outside in the hateful groups that
Mhm.
begin to speak to the other people in their group that's going to make
Right.
the biggest difference. So, our allies, that's what I need you to know, how important
Yeah.
you as an ally actually are to our community,
Yeah.
and to how we are to be treated as human beings. And I think one of the biggest things that I love about seeing allies is when you said something about wearing a pin,
Yeah.
and I've seen allies wear a pin that just has their pronouns on it.
Mhm.
And when an ally, a cisgendered, human being, introduces themselves with their pronouns,
Mhm.
it is so much more impactful
Right.
than when a trans
Right.
person introduces themselves with their pronouns.
Right. Right.
And that's
Absolutely.
it's impressive. I can't,
It
the
is.
feeling that I get when I see someone who, like yourself,
Mhm.
that people that, I work in community with, that do that on their own, not just because they
Mhm.
support me, but because they support humanity
Right.
and believe all people deserve to be comfortable and then happy. Then, that just gives me the greatest feeling, to that moment that says, hey, you're not by yourself in this fight. Like, I see
Yeah.
you, and I'm doing my part,
Right.
and that's
And without
amazing.
having to open up that conversation because we don't
Right.
know, I know that you've shared an experience you had, you don't know whether it's obvious or not if somebody is transgender or non-binary
Right.
or any part of the LGBTQ community, regardless of if it's obvious, they may not be ready to talk about it.
Absolutely.
So you can't
Absolutely.
just assume that by saying something, even if you feel it's something positive, you can't assume that they're going to be accepting of that and okay with that because they have been so have had so many almost traps. I've seen
Yes.
this, people talk about this, whereas they think somebody is, understanding, but then it's more of a lure to
Yep.
then attack.
Absolutely.
So, a lot of the LGBTQ community, and I think probably non binary and transgender, are, at the front of this to where there's a lot more hate crimes because it's so misunderstood.
Yeah.
And we try to say you don't have to understand it to be, to
Yeah.
understand or be open to people having, being authentic to themselves. You don't have to understand that.
Right.
There's so many, we're so alike in so many ways at the soul level, but on the other hand, we're so different in so many ways that we can't possibly try to understand everybody, what's going on inside of them. So just
Yeah.
being, accepting to, allowing is such a terrible word, but being accepting to, people being themselves, that just that respect for humanity and for
Yeah.
just common courtesy.
Yeah. The embracing of just watching, I think it's the embracing of the natural order of humanity, is is
Yeah.
is is someone having that, because no matter who we are, whether we are cisgendered, whether we are, LGBTQ, whether we're whatever. It doesn't even have to be about sexuality or gender.
Right.
Each one of us in the world as a human longs to do something or be something that we're not always saying to someone, even if it's a mother of three who longs to be a professional singer, or
Right.
someone that has something that's authentic to them, that they're
Mhm.
so afraid to let the rest of the world see because of the
Mhm.
fear of rejection.
Mhm.
That and when we can learn to see people living openly as their
Yeah.
authentic real selves, we should learn to, really
Applaud that.
applaud that. In
Yeah.
all honesty, to applaud
Yeah.
that and appreciate that, because
Yeah.
I know for myself, before I accepted myself as trans, before I began to go through medical transition, that's how I felt, and still today. I mean, everyone knows that I have a great love for the male to female transhumans,
Right.
because I just think the courage and the bravery and just the,
Absolutely.
just because of cis male culture and toxic
Mhm.
masculinity and all the things that a male has to still go through to become, to step through
Yeah.
and be who they are unapologetically, is inspiring to me. And when we
Absolutely.
can see people, why can't we be inspired versus trying to be, you know, like we have to? There's no way we can understand. Like, there's no way
Yeah.
I'm ever going to understand what it is like to be a heterosexual white female.
Right.
I can be sympathetic, I can learn what I can learn, but there's
Mhm.
no way that I'm ever going to fully understand
Right.
that. And we let that stand in our way when it comes to big things like LGBTQ plus
Mhm.
trans or whatever. We try to say, well, I don't understand that and I don't agree.
Right. I don't
Who
agree because I
cares?
don't understand. But yeah, but
Exactly. And
but
that's
there's
what it
so many
is.
other things. Think about other people in your family or even friends, parts of people that you don't understand and that you just don't have an interest in delving deeper. There's still a person inside of there. You don't have to understand everything about that person and their interests and their life and their, and just their life in general and who they are on the
Right.
inside. It's just it's just people are people, and you know what you have to understand is that it's not up to you to decide what is acceptable and what isn't for that person.
No, it
or what
truly
or
isn't.
right or wrong.
No, absolutely not. And so, we can't imagine that we are, we can't imagine that we are the authority on what is right and what is wrong for every person. And I think that
Right.
anytime we try to take away somebody's humanity for any reason, not just this, man, I'm just talking about any reason whatsoever,
Right,
when we
exactly.
do that, then we're absolutely robbing ourselves of a different experience. We're robbing ourselves. Um, we're robbing ourselves of all of that. So I mean, that's just what it is. And I mean, who are we? That's the
Yeah.
real reason. So that's what we're talking about tonight in trying to be better allies. We can respect people's names, their pronouns. We can learn,
Right.
like we said earlier, to address when we introduce ourselves, use pronouns and our own pronouns, and
Right.
we can do a lot of things to set the tones for making things more comfortable for everyone.
And so people know that they're safe there, in your existence, in your company. They're safe with you, you know, just so people know that. If you're wearing a pin or if you introduce yourself with your pronouns, or, if you're a place of business or even your household, you can put a little, just, you doesn't have to be real big and make a big statement, or it can be, put a flag out, you know,
Yeah.
um, just things that say you're safe here. I'm open to, anybody and everybody. Equality is important to me.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
making just as a cis person, even um like I said, your place of business, even your website, it's really important because so many people don't realize. I've learned this. I think I told the story before about just putting that little flag on my website, because I don't have a brick and mortar place, but um, I've learned that people don't realize the importance of it. That people really are scared or they hold back a lot when they're looking for either a service or goods. They're looking for a place that they're going to be accepted, that they're not going to be bullied.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because,
Kind
again,
kindness matters.
yeah, and it's pretty
Maybe put
easy to do.
those hotline numbers up again.
Yeah, because, it doesn't take very long to be, or much effort to be kind. And when we're talking
Yeah.
about people's lives, you know,
And I
who
think when
really
you
cares about our opinions
I
of
think
what people do?
when you have bullies and when you have trolls or bullies or anything, it just really just reiterates what we're trying
It
to
does.
do.
It
That,
makes the point.
yeah, it just makes the
It
point
makes the
that
point.
those type of people are out there, and if your child is coming out to you, and whether it's something that you agree with or understand, that's what they're going to face in the world, and
That's what they're
nobody
going
would
through.
choose that.
Right.
Nobody would choose that. So
And who's to
you
say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
I was
who's to
just going to
say
say,
as a
yeah, you're
parent
the
that your
person.
children, right? Who's to
Yeah.
say that your children are going to come to you? So, like, we're grown. We can
Yeah.
block those things, we can take care of those things. But as a young
Mhm.
person may be going through that without your knowledge. In
Yeah.
the same room in your house, they can be being bullied, they can be
Mhm.
being abused, they could be being they could even be being honestly molested online in your
Right.
very house on
Right.
the internet. There is the need for a safe space.
Right.
We are grown, and we open up and do this work openly,
Mhm.
knowing that there are going to be
Mhm.
people with nothing else to do, or people that just want to, again, imprint
Yeah.
their, opinion. And we're not here to ask for opinions. We're
Right.
here to educate people
Well, and
on.
it's just making our point that people need
It
to be
is.
educated and need
It
to
is.
be wary of what's going on in the world. I think I've mentioned before that before my involvement in the Trevor Project and before getting to know you real well, I didn't realize the amount of, violence and bullying and, and even self-harm and suicide rates. I didn't realize. And do you remember like our first our first one where I was the co-host on Transgender Mentor, and you
Yeah.
said, and now let everybody be nice, da 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 da, and I was like, why would anybody? I was so naive to why would we have who is gonna come at us,
Right. It
um,
happens. As
yeah,
you
and
can
it's so
see, it
funny, right?
happens.
And it just really goes to show that you can still be an open person, but you may not really realize that there is that out there,
Yeah.
and so if you want you don't get rid of that by ignoring it. You get rid of
Right.
that by standing up for others. And like you said, a transgender person can stand up all they want and say, whatever they want, but it takes the allies, it takes the cisgendered allies to stand up. And, again, I'm not one for making a big scene, but you can wear a pin, you can introduce yourself with your pronouns, you can put your pronouns on your social media. I mean, there's a lot that you can do,
Yeah.
just,
I appreciate that
share
information.
information about, the Trevor Project. And, you don't have to know anybody. You just have to know that, you just have to show that you're open. I say you just have to. I mean, it's good if you just show that you're open and safe and, you're for equality and diversity.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure. And then there's always just different ways that you can think about yourself too. Like, don't sit and let yourself be abused
Right.
because, this is not your fault for being who you are.
Right.
In fact, the ones that can't see you for who you are, in all honesty, they have the issue, like that's their
Mhm.
problem. And
Right.
if they're trolling on your social media, you're still getting views, so that
Yeah.
still counts for you. Block them and move on. Like,
Mhm.
don't sit and let yourself, because you can't for 1 second let some stranger who hides behind
Right.
a keyboard or a computer, make you feel somehow like you don't
Mhm.
belong in your skin.
Right.
Your fight is going to be just to be happy and to be
Mhm.
who you are is going to make you much stronger than any person out there who
Yeah.
hides behind fake accounts or
Mhm.
their real accounts and has to impress other people by throwing you some kind of
Yeah.
shade. So we got to turn that around and let people show their own smallness,
Yeah.
and just don't take it. You don't have to take that. You can see
Right.
that right now it's a click of a button. We have
And
these people in our comments making fake accounts. I hit a
mhm.
button that says block. They make a new
Mhm.
one real quick with stupid names, block it again, and
Yeah.
continue to block it and continue to block it. And eventually they'll just quit
Yeah.
because it's not fun for them if you're
If they're
not
not
giving them
getting
some kind of reaction.
right.
But
Right,
every
and
one of those
you're not
counts.
going to convince people either. Like if you have,
It's not your
if we're
job.
talking social media, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any of that, TikTok, any of it, um, if you have people coming at you rather than thinking, well, this is my opportunity to educate them. If they're being if they're being a bully, you're not going to be able to.
No.
It's more of the people that are asking genuine questions, and you can tell that difference,
Yes.
um,
Yes, you
and
can.
also, and just like you said, cultivating that self love and that self respect, that's more important than anything, I
Yes.
think, no matter who you
Yeah.
are, to cultivate
Yeah,
that.
that's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah, that's not trans or LGBTQ at all,
Hmm.
like personalized. That's for every human being. I
Right.
mean, at what point do we, want to think and believe for ourselves and stand up for what we feel pulled to as far as humanity goes? I
Hmm.
mean, there are things that may make you feel good in the moment, like, following some kind of crowd and what you
Hmm.
think, but there's a freedom in knowing what you think, and there's a
Right.
freedom in knowing who you are, and there's a
Right.
freedom in knowing that you don't need somewhere else out or someone else out in cyberspace or even in your space to
Yeah.
create a safe space for you. Create a safe space for yourself, because I'm going to tell you
Right.
right now, there's nothing wrong with you. Like,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with you. And so
Yeah.
don't stand for a lot of crap in your chats or on your pictures. Don't let people change your mind about
Hmm.
who you are and what makes you happy
Yeah.
and how to live your life. But do this one favor for me. Oh, hey, my low. You see, you asked for a safe space, and a safe space appears.
Yes.
I love you, Lori. I love you so much. I will call you this week for sure. Um, but this is what I want to say to you, definitely, especially for trans youth. I want you to not expect that creating an outside that matches your inside is the answer to all your issues.
Hmm.
It's the same in recovery. We think if we change the drugs and alcohol, if we just don't use, then that's going to be the answer to all of our problems.
Right.
And the real fact is that the majority of people who transition and wait for that, well, when my body matches, then
Hmm.
I'll be happy. Those are going to be your people that regret transitioning.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
such a
because
process. Yeah.
it is, and it's because you're expecting some external
Yeah.
thing or process to your body to be what fixes everything, and it's not. You still got to grow that inside of you. And this is the process that I talk about so much, and Pamela talks about so much, in that doing that inner healing and learning to stand on your own and love you for all that you are
Yeah.
and appreciating you. When you walk in that space, others treat you in that space because they see that. They
Yeah.
see that, they feel that from you, and they
Mhm.
know that you're not one to just stand for stuff. So, every young person within the sound of my voice, I don't care what your identity is, if you're being bullied online, say something. Don't sit with it. Don't let that stuff continue to come at you.
Right.
Block it out. You don't
Yeah.
need that person's approval. You do not need it to be
Right.
happy. Sorry, I just had to go there.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Absolutely.
I mean, it's
Some
so
good
true. I'm
points.
tired of
Yeah.
losing people. I'm
Yeah.
tired of kids taking
Oh
their
gosh.
own lives. I just I get so tired of it. And I guess that's, as an older person who has
Mhm.
lived through a lot more in life than some snazzy comments on a
Yeah.
video, I can truly say that I love the people that are in my circle of safety. I
Mhm.
couldn't do life, honestly, as well. I couldn't love me as much without
Yeah.
so many beautiful people helping me love me. But it took a
Mhm.
while for me to get here, and I've made those mistakes.
I think it's
I've
also
used.
important for the trolls and bullies to realize that, something that they put up might, in turn have somebody self-harm or worse. They think it's a joke or think it's funny. I don't think a lot of the bullies and the trolls that are online, I don't think a lot of them are very don't see themselves as being very harmful, but it can be very harmful. And I don't really, and this may just be me being naive again, but I don't really think that those are the people that are the ones that are going to be attacking people. And there's a lot of those people out there for sure, but I don't think those are the ones that are attacking people in real life. I think those are the
No,
ones
they're
that are just, being silly and just, trolling for the sake of trolling. It may
right.
be LGBTQ, here, and then now they're somewhere else, talking about a
Right.
political thing, something
That's
else.
yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
trolling, bullying type of personality, and that's what they do for fun without even remembering tomorrow which accounts and which, groups they bullied.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah, you
but
said that true.
it's important to know that when you're doing that kind of a thing, that it could be somebody's life. It could be the
It
life
really
of a
could be.
child. Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
it really, really could be. And I think that, even for, and you can honestly, a lot of times you can tell the age of the
mm,
people that are trolling
by the
around,
way, they're
and
saying things. Yeah.
exactly by the things that they write or the things
Mm,
that they say. And then a lot of times they're kids. And the thing
yeah.
about it is, they're probably living the shittiest home lives ever.
Hmm.
That they're bullying someone else because in their home, they're
Right.
probably being bullied themselves. And
Yeah.
and I think, like Lo says, they're not happy with themselves, and they're not.
Right.
They
Right.
are lashing out because they're being lashed upon. They're in
Hmm.
these little groups where they're trying to one up each other and impress
Right.
each other. But again, like you said, the importance is that you're dealing with a life. And I think at the point that we
Hmm.
start prosecuting those
Hmm.
people, when we do have youth suicide, when
Yeah.
we go back and we look at those things and we find those accounts, and we become a country that prosecutes that, I think that, a lot of those things will make it more real,
Yeah.
because these are people's lives, and there
Hmm.
is someone right now getting those kinds of comments, that kind of stuff, and they are contemplating taking their own life, or
Right.
before this video ends, one of them probably will. And
Hmm.
that, to me, is the saddest part. And
Absolutely.
I think our parents need to really understand
Hmm.
that this is happening far more than you realize.
Right.
And as much as your child may feel embarrassed to show you, embarrassed to tell you, or whatever, as a parent, there's a lot of things with my own son that I wish I would
Mhm.
have stood up for
Yeah.
more drastically. Let me
Right.
see your phone. What's happening? Let me see these comments.
Yeah.
That we got to keep our children safe. We got
Yeah.
to keep our children safe. I love you and I love doing this with you. And
So
unfortunately, I'm
fast.
sorry that you have to go through that same stuff. And this is what I tried to,
It's all a
kind of,
learning experience, and that's important too, That's important to see, I think, You can't,
yeah.
you don't want to protect your
I do.
your cis friend.
I I want to protect everyone that I can, just because it's just so ludicrous, and I desperately want young people to see how
Right.
unimportant it truly is,
And
and
as
that
and for parents not to tell them, "Oh, it doesn't mean anything," you know.
yes,
If it hurts your kid, it hurts your kid regardless of whether you can tell it's just, kind of a stupid offhanded comment. Still, if it hurts your kid, it hurts your kid. So, I mean,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a great point. So thanks so much for being here and doing this with me. I'm grateful. My beautiful
So honored.
Lori, I love you so much, and I will call you. I will probably call you tomorrow night because I'm desperately sleepy and got to work in the morning. I will call you tomorrow night for sure. But I love doing this with you, and I'm grateful that that we learned through this whole thing together. I'm
Mhm.
excited about your book that's coming out. So
Thank
January
you.
15th, everybody get over to Amazon. Give us the title right now.
I did not come this far to only come this far. And you could even just
That's
put my
beautiful.
name in there and it'll come up.
Awesome. So head over to Amazon right now when you get off this video and pre-order Pamela's book. I didn't come this far to only come this far on Amazon. It will be available on Kindle. I'm so proud of you for doing that. Down in the description, you can see that Breakthrough Hypnotherapy is still giving their free session to all of our subscribers and our listeners. The information to get in touch with Pamela and Breakthrough Hypnotherapy is right there in the
Thank
description.
you.
Take her up on that because, if you want to continue to go into that healing, to know yourself even deeper, to love yourself and heal
Confidence. Yeah.
yourself, build confidence,
Yeah.
overcome childhood, traumas, then hypnotherapy is a beautiful way to do that. And hey, if you just want to relax from hard days in the evening, it's the
Right.
most soothing practice ever. It's
Just for
amazing.
stress relief is good, just, once in a
Absolutely.
while. Yeah.
Absolutely. And everybody, don't go through the holidays alone. If you are a trans youth, LGBTQ plus youth, please reach out to the Trevor Project. There
Hmm.
are so many amazing resources. If you are an ally, want to be a better ally, they have a downloadable PDF that's amazing. Gives great, 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 advice and just guidance. I love the Trevor Project. I look forward to doing more with them. I love you,
Yes.
Pamela,
I
and I
love
hope
you
that you have
too.
an amazingly brilliant, beautiful week. I'm happy for
Thank
you
you. You
and all
too.
that you're doing. And until next time, everybody, remember, follow us on TikTok, Transgender Mentor, Pamela Topjian. That's where you find us. I love you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.